Once upon a time there was wise man, and his curious grandson lived in serene village, surrounded by hills and beautiful river running nearby. One day, a grandson asked his grandfather, "Grandfather, what is my life worth?" His grandfather took out an old watch from his pocket and handed it to the boy. He said, "My dear boy, if you want to know the value of your life, take this old watch and go to the market. If someone asks you for the price, stay quiet and hold up 2 fingers." The boy followed his grandfather's instructions and went to the market. After some time, an old woman approached him and asked, "How much is this watch worth?" The boy remained silent and raised 2 fingers. The woman said, $2, and tried to pay. Startled, the boy ran back to his grandfather and shared the incident, exclaiming that the old woman in the market offered $2 for the watch. The grandfather smiled and said, "Now, I want you to take this watch to a museum. If someone asks for the price, stay quiet and hold up 2 fingers." The grandson took the watch to the museum. After about 20 minutes, a middle-aged man in a suit and tie approached the boy and asked, "Young man, how much is this watch worth?" Once again, the boy remained silent and held up 2 fingers. The man said, $200. I would like to buy it. Amazed, the boy rushed home to his grandfather, telling him that the man at the museum wanted to buy the watch for $200. The grandfather nodded and said, "Good. Now, I want you to take this watch to an antique collector's shop, show it to the owner, and see what happens. Remember, if someone asks for the price, stay quiet and hold up 2 fingers." Excitedly, the grandson ran to the antique shop and showed the watch to the collector. The old man behind the counter gasped when he saw the watch. He picked it up carefully, examined it closely, and exclaimed, "My goodness, this is a rare vintage watch. I have been searching for this exact piece for years. How much are you asking for it?" The boy, as instructed, held up 2 fingers. The collector smiled and said, $200,000. That's what I'm willing to pay for this extraordinary watch." The boy stood frozen in disbelief. He hurriedly returned to his grandfather and exclaimed, "Grandfather, the collector at the antique shop offered me $200,000 for the watch." With a gentle smile, the grandfather replied, "You see, my boy, the value of this watch changes depending on where it is and who values it. Someone who truly understands its worth will offer you the highest amount because they recognize its rarity and significance. The same applies to your life. You determine its value. You can choose to see yourself as the person who is worth only $2, or you can choose to see yourself as someone who is priceless and rare, like this watch. Surround yourself with those who see your worth, and never let anyone else define it for you." The grandson sat in silence, pondering his grandfather's words. "But grandfather, how do I know my true value? How do I find those who see it?" His grandfather leaned back, his eyes twinkling with wisdom. He said, "Knowing your value starts from within. Look at this watch. On the surface, it may look old and worn, but those who understand its craftsmanship and history see it as a treasure. In the same way, you must recognize the unique qualities and talents within you. When you understand your own worth, the world will reflect it back to you. And as for finding those who see your value, seek out people who appreciate your presence, who encourage you, and who bring out the best in you. These are the ones who recognize your true worth. Never settle for those who diminish you or treat you as ordinary. Surround yourself with those who uplift you." The grandson nodded slowly, realizing the depth of his grandfather's words. His grandfather continued, "Remember, life is a journey. Along the way, you'll encounter people who value you differently. Some will see you as ordinary, while others will recognize you as extraordinary. Your job is to hold on to your sense of self-worth and never let anyone convince you otherwise. The grandson held the watch tightly in his hand, feeling its weight and significance. For the first time, he understood that his value was not determined by others, but by how he viewed himself. From that day forward, the boy carried his grandfather's lesson in his heart. He chose to see himself as the rare and priceless treasure his grandfather always knew him to be. And as he walked through life, he surrounded himself with those who celebrated his worth, just as the antique collector had cherished the old watch. And so, the story of the watch became a timeless reminder. Our value is not dictated by others, but by how we perceive ourselves and the company we choose to keep. Recognize your worth, embrace your uniqueness, and let your life shine like a rare treasure in a world that may not always understand your true value.